Well, there is a bowl game in a couple of weeks.
Yes, there is. Man, I'm excited for this game. First of all, it's a
Really?
football game. Sounds good to me.
Well, wait a minute. It's a meaningless exhibition like the others that you're going to ignore.
Wrong.
While you're reading a book.
I have decided that this game matters for the future course of Nebraska football.
Oh, you have? I guess you haven't said this publicly that I've heard.
I'll say it publicly to you right now. I think it matters. There you go. No, but in all seriousness, I do, because you can't pine and want to go to a bowl game for years and years and years and then get there and say, actually, it doesn't matter. I think that would be a ridiculous opinion to have. It's like when a certain coach who might be back in college football was like, we would go play in Uzbekistan, and then they played, and then they lost a lot of games and then said, well, it was a COVID year, so it doesn't really matter. No, you cannot have an attitude that something is important, and then the result doesn't go the way that you want it to go and say, actually, not that big of a deal.
I bet all those Uzbekistani football fans were bummed.
They were.
Are you concerned that this goes against the notion that these are meaningless exhibitions?
Definitely. This definitely is a argument against myself, because
Okay.
I do think that these are meaningless. It's more about the approach. If they are going to tell us that this matters, and I think it does. Doesn't seem like there's going to be opt-outs. They have lost players, right? Like Daniel Kalen will not be playing in this game.
Yes.
Though he didn't play in any games this year, so that doesn't really matter. There will not, there at the very least, right now, we do not know of any opt-outs. Seems like Boston College. I don't believe it. Seems like they will have opt-outs, including one of their better players who is on the defensive side of the ball.
Okay.
Their backup quarterback is gone. He has left the program. And he actually played, but he was the starter at the beginning of the season.
Interesting.
I just can't say that it would be okay with me for them to pine and approach things like that it matters, and then they lose, and then suddenly it doesn't matter. They should be engaged. If they're as engaged as they're telling me they are, they should win this one going away. Sith Destroyer 1 writes, isn't our entire D-line gone? Not the entirety.
No,
Seems like
not
the polar bear
entirety,
will be
but quite
there.
a
It seems
few.
like Big Ass Ty will be there. If those players are there, that's pretty solid, pretty important. You are saying this game is an exhibition and it doesn't matter.
I mean, yeah, if I'm trying to be consistent with my own opinion, I guess the reason why I get how it matters in terms of the optics of 7-6 versus 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
From that standpoint, it does. I guess when I look at it from the greater scheme of things, because this roster is going to look so radically different, and I have been one to try to push back at the notion that bowl games provide any kind of momentum for the following season.
And for the record, this is not about momentum. This is just about mindset.
But that has fed into my belief that the result of these games, I'll put it this way. When Nebraska would lose a bowl game at the end of the season back in the day, it felt significant because it was another loss. And it was the last impression that team had a chance to make. But now, in the days of the portal and everything changing so much, and this team's going to look so radically different next year, I guess in the interest of trying to be consistent,
You're going to say it doesn't.
I don't think it matters. And again, I understand the optics of 7-6 versus 6-7, because folks could look at that and say, well, you haven't had a winning season since 2016. And that would be true. And that would be true. So, yeah, it's tough. I understand your argument. I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, because we have devalued these games, both as a society and as a sport, I mean, just by... This is the thing that Nick Saban warned us against many years ago when we created the playoff was, well, it's making these bowl games less meaningful. And he was right. They are.
Yeah, and they should be. It's not a big deal. It's okay that they don't matter like they used to.
No, and so because of that, I don't want to artificially attach more value back into it.
And for the
if
record,
value has been taken away, I think it needs to remain away. Certainly I'll watch. Certainly we'll have opinions on it. We'll
do the Scarlet and the Cream in a couple Mondays.
We'll do the overreaction. We'll do all the.
You'll be on the air for overreaction.
I'll be on the air for the
You'll
overreaction.
have to have opinions.
Martyr Baton John.
Nice.
But I'm not going to look into this result and say, well, that was a fitting way for this season to end, or this puts the perfect capper on this great year. Not that it was a great year, mid-year. I'm gonna try to be consistent, and just watch it almost like it's a spring game.
Brett in Minnesota. It's not that bad.
I know.
It's not that bad.
It's
you better
fact check.
You better leave the state if John's watching it like the spring game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because you don't watch the spring game.
Well, I fast.
And you're never in Nebraska for the spring.
That's
game.
true. I will not.
I'm
pretty sure. I mean, just watch. I'll probably be in Boston this next year. Let's get it done. Brett in Minnesota writes, bowl game momentum is only a thing for the fans. Bowl game,
I don't think it exists anymore. I really don't.
Well, I would add this, and for some media, like if they win and they do it in a certain way, I know that our Tuesday regular at 4:50 will say momentum,
and I will laugh and say no, not at all.
We should talk about that with him tomorrow, because I know he is a believer in that stuff.
I invite you.
But I'm also so I'll say this though. I'm also intrigued because Dana Holgorsen shows up. He has 2 weeks before his first game. Offense looked a little bit better against USC, looked a lot better against Wisconsin, and then it was kind of more of the same against Iowa, right? Now he has a month. How does the offense look? That side of the ball, not a whole lot of opt-outs, not a whole lot of portal guys. Dylan's back. Dylan's healthy.
But can you make a solid measurement? And we don't know yet exactly who's going to be playing for Boston College, who is, who
I don't
isn't.
believe it.
But see, I don't want to put. I understand where you're from a curiosity standpoint and how it might look.
And that's what it is. This is not a value judgment on the future of the program. It's more, I want to see what it looks like. I want to see how things look. How's the offense different? But how does Emmett look?
But it's gonna be hard for me to look at this and attach anything looking ahead towards next year, because again, all the receivers are going to be different, most of them.
Sure.
A lot of other people are going to be different. Yeah, you could have said this in the past if Nebraska had a senior heavy team and graduated a lot of folks. But it seems like it means even less now, because now it's not just the seniors that are leaving. It's, it's a lot of other people that are leaving. So, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong for attaching whatever value you want to. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I think
I can't bring myself to doing that.
Maybe the thing that I am excited for more is just like, hey, get to watch them one more time.
Sure.
Like, that'll be nice. And it will be in New York City, which is weird.
Right. And so when I say things like, I'm going to kind of look at this a little bit more like a spring game. After a spring game, you're like, did they win? Did they lose? Well, nobody won, nobody lost.
Yeah. The thing that you want to get out of the game with is no injuries.
Sure.
The real winners were the fans.
By the way, Steve Adazio, who is What's Better Than This, Guys Being Dudes, he's doing the radio call for this game, very sadly.
Fact check? Who's
fact
that?
check. What's Better Than This? Guys Being Dudes. Remember that guy? I don't know any of these people who are announcing it, though, John. Mike Monaco,
Are
Kirk
they Chiefs
Morrison,
writers?
Monaco, and Don Davenport. Who are those people?
Is Mike Monaco, did he do NASCAR stuff?
You're thinking of someone else, but Mike has done college baseball.
Oh, he's a young man.
I know
31?
the name. I for sure know the name.
He's younger than me.
Yeah, you're thinking of oh my God, who are you thinking of? I'll think about it during the break. But no, Mike's done some college baseball.
Kyle writes, the bowl win against UCLA seemed to provide some momentum for Mike Riley. I think what the bowl game that year did, it less momentum and more, it got people off his back for a tiny bit.
Also, keep in mind, that was a different world back then.
It was.
Because back then, people were like, oh, you're opting out of a bowl game? Now we have people opting out of playoff games.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a different time. I mean, the way people are perceiving bowls has changed a lot in just 8 years.
Chris writes, no one was devaluing the game when everyone said Rule had to make a bowl game this year. If it was important early, then it still needs to be important. If it's not important now, then Rule never needed to win 6 games.
See, but I'm not saying it wasn't important that they hit the benchmark, right? The benchmark. But then to say that the bowl game itself, getting to 6 and ending the streak was more about the benchmark, not that they're playing in a bowl game, if that makes sense.
So this is almost like extra credit on the test.
Bingo.
You passed the test. Who cares about this part, though?
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
This is the senioritis.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Chris?
Matt Rule passed the test.
Matt Rule.
He got his C minus.
C's get degrees.
C minus. He got his C minus.
Nick knows.
The bowl game is
I was
now
an AP
extra
student.
credit.
Sure,
And the practices,
Fact
the
check.
extra practices are extra credit. There's more
practices.
There's more value in the practices than the bowl game.
I'm sure the kids love extra practice.
They probably do. Extra
the
reps.
coaches love it.
Mm.
Would you not agree? The extra practices mean more than the bowl game itself.
100%. Yeah, it's reps. It's extra reps for younger players.
There you go.
This is great. Plus,
Mike-
it's something to do on a Saturday.
Mike Massaro is the name you're thinking of.
Thank you.
That's a different different Mike.
NASCAR.